Well, let's jump right into the tip of the week for goal setting. How many of you have set goals already, or are you still in the process of setting goals? Work on goals. You must be a person that has goals, sets down goals. Now, most people, most of you probably have goals consistently, but do address new goals and take this time, take this season to address new goals and give yourself a new opportunity to think more objectively about what you're doing. I take this opportunity every new year and I take this opportunity to think objectively, to think, okay, how am I doing? How did I do? How am I doing? Where am I going? What do I want to do? And then my goal setting is always based upon my categories. So goal setting is very important. I want to talk to you today about the second tip of goal setting. And some of these tips, before I even get to what I think are the quality aspects of setting goals, the first part of the tips are things that people don't often equate and put in their goals. So the first last week we talked about, just making sure that you're looking at where you were successful and make sure that you bring that into your goals. Don't just come with something new. Don't just make something new for the sake of doing something new, but actually make sure that you're thinking about what worked in the past so that I can make sure I'm setting new goals for that. Because there's always going to be new and innovative things. And new innovations don't mean that you're going to have success in it. There's a learning curve with new innovations. So you want to make sure that you're successful and then you have enough space and margin to, in emotional, physical, enough space and margin to make sure that you can actually faithfully and successfully institute and instill that new function. And so we've lost some of the previous successes because we've captured a new idea and we let those things go. Don't do that. Make sure that you keep both. Success is your base, and what is successful is your base, and then you innovate from there. Today, I want to talk to you about a statement that Earl Nightingale spoke, and I think when he said it, I don't know if people really captured it, but when I read it, I captured it, and I really said that is a brilliant thing. And what he said was, people set goals, and when you set a goal, goals are only achieved by discipline. By discipline. So when you set a goal, you're setting a discipline in your life. That's a brilliant thought. But he says there are also rivers. Rivers are what you flow in, what you flow with. You have to know that when you're setting goals, you also have to look for your rivers. What flows with you? What flows really well? How do you flow? What flows out of you? What happens easily? What are some of the things that people say, how did you do that? How do you do that? When you find that, that's what your river is. People say, how do I make an incredible offer? Or if I'm going to make a course, what do you make a course based upon? And my thing is always, when you are going to make a course, you should make the first course you make should be based upon what are people asking you how to do. The thing that they're telling you that you make it look so easy. If your response is, oh, that's easy, and they're asking, it shows you immediately that's a river for you and it's not a river for them. And that would be immediately their goal. So in your river, create the ability, how do I do this? Look at it objectively and work out what you do, how you do, and then that could be a course. Again, a lot of you don't have the plan of doing a course, but if you did, if you ever planned on doing a course, your course is based upon what comes easy from you, what flows from you. So when you're looking at the fact that there's a river. Now, when you set a goal, there's a benchmark, right? When you set a goal, I think one of my next ones is going to be how to set a goal to your summit. But when you set a goal, you should have a goal and then you have benchmarks along the way. Goals always have benchmarks. Rivers don't have benchmarks, they have white water. So you want to know where your white water is. If you've never been down a river, you're going to have to go through and just flow and just kind of calculate and pay attention to, man, momentum kicks in when I do this. Man, momentum happens when I'm talking like this. Momentum happens. I get really energized when I speak like this. So if you find out where you feel momentum, how many of you ever felt momentum? How many of you ever felt like momentum? You just can feel it. Just something kicks in. We don't take it and go, let's plan around that. Let's use that's usable material. If I get all of a sudden just a boost in something, that's usable material. That is a place of interest and insight and passion and innovation. I mean, when you lock into that, your world is going to change because the law of attraction is going to kick in. The law of attrition is going to kick in. You're going to attract and you're going to push away what you don't want. It's going to immediately, but you have to set it as a focus. And so, where is your river? What rivers do you have in your life? And what white water do you have in your life? When I went on white water rafting years ago, and they told me, okay, when we get about here, it's going to get really rough. And so you're going to have to actually be prepared for it. And then it'll cool out and smooth out. And so when you get over here, this is how you have to function in this. You can't fight that. You have to flow with it. Right. And so we realized, okay, just pushing off from the shore on the little, off the river bank and just pushing off of the bank. And it's just cool. And I'm on this raft with, about 5 other people. We're at a camp and, 6, including me. So we're just rolling. And so we have our little vest on and we have this little paddle and we paddle ourselves out there. So this is like a goal. We have to get into the middle of something. So we're going to get into, and then all of a sudden the current starts to kick in and it starts to pull us down. And we're like, okay, this is cool. We don't have to paddle for the sake of movement, but we kind of have to use the paddles to steer us and to move us the right direction, but it's not intense. And then we get to this place where it's like so overwhelming. The force is so strong. There's nothing I can do except for go with it and make sure I don't hit any hazards, right? Do you understand? This is what you're going to have. You want to find the places where favor is. You want to find the places where you go so intense and so fast. Right now, media for me is my favor. The favor of God is on me for television. I am, and let me tell you something that may sound arrogant, but this is the point. When you find your thing, when you find your favor, don't hide it. You got to say, favor is on me for this. I have so much favor. Now, you should know the difference of when you have favor, the river is flowing, or when you're paddling, right? Paddling takes effort. Paddling takes focus. Paddling takes attention. You used to have to get to that place. You're paddling. Now, that's a goal. That's when you're in your goals. I'm going out to this area, but when you hit that river, that white water, it starts to move you and it starts to take you places that you never expected to be. If you ever find yourself going, man, I never thought I'd be here, you better say what it is. I have favor. Look at this favor. I never expected to be here. And what I've learned when I was first on, interviewed on TBN, and I had all of these interviews all around, and I remember thinking, goodness gracious, why I'm here? Look at there's so-and-so and there's so-and-so. And then I had finally the Holy Spirit said, you belong here. And I said, what? Shoot, I belong here. What? Then you have to be okay. If the Holy Spirit's going to tell you belong here, you've got to be okay saying, I belong here. I belong here. I know this. I know that's deep, right? But I belong here. I belong here, right? And so when you realize you have that kind of favor, that God puts you in the right place at the right time with the right people, and you're in that kind of space, you should be okay going, I belong here, and I favor. Things are flowing for me here. And when the more you realize things are flowing, when you go, this is a river for me. So when you look at 2022 and you look at 2021, anything that worked in those 2 years, you should call river. Anything in those years where you've had favor, because those are the years where there was, dams that were created that stopped things in their lives, but you were able to keep on flowing. That's a river, and you need to add it into your future, and you need to have an expectation that I do well in this kind of environment. When everyone else is falling apart, when the world looks like it's falling apart, I do well in this environment, right? That's a river. That's a white water. And again, pumpkin spice is a white water season for people. You have to know where the seasons are in your river. Pumpkin spice is a white water, right? If I had a lotion or eyelashes or pumpkin spice eyelashes, I would have my eyelashes smell like pumpkin spice, straight up. I would straight up do them. There's white water seasons, and you got to make sure you know what it is. And if you can do anything that has a pumpkin spice, know that season is coming, and just jump in your and just be, just get to that goal, and then catch the momentum and then flow. Now the key, there was 2 things that happened when I was white water rafting. It started going so forceful that we were bouncing literally out of this raft. And I was sitting next to this young lady, the pastor's daughter, and she was bouncing, and she literally was going to bounce out of the boat. And I reached up and I kicked her back in. I kicked her. Come on, somebody. I kicked her straight up back up into the boat. And I wouldn't, I would never say I kicked somebody like that before, but I just kicked her right back in the boat. Now, what happened? None of us were ready. None of us anticipated the kind of flow. None of us anticipated the kind of energy. None of us anticipated the kind of power. Now, when you can anticipate that power, you can anticipate that kind of energy. Do you know what you could do? You could literally set yourself up in a season that you could set yourself up in a season you will never ever come back from. I'm telling you, there are people who set themselves up in seasons that they can never come back from. It's too they hit a moment of power. Let me tell you a couple of things. Okay, Zoom. I was looking, just getting on, and they're marked as this leader, but Zoom came out. Zoom didn't know. They had no idea. But when Zoom ended up being in the season, it literally was the season of power for them. They just ended up, okay, coronavirus was the best thing that happened to Zoom, the best thing that they could have ever imagined, but they became a billion-dollar company out of nowhere. Zoom, right? Yeah, no longer is it just business people trying to have conferences, but it's everybody. Moms groups. Come on, somebody. It's like, musclehead groups. All kinds of groups are out there having gatherings on Zoom. Well, that's a whitewater that if they never knew it was going to hit them, but when they caught that momentum and they've been able to make, there was a couple stressful points in Zoom last year in 2020. I was like, oh man, Zoom is just like falling apart. We've been using Zoom. We moved out of our building. We've been using Zoom for staff meetings for 4 or 5 years, right? We've just been for 5 years, right? We've been just using Zoom. So we were like, so when Zoom started to have choke a little bit in 2020 because it didn't know how to handle so many people, we felt it. I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? Right? It's like, but I'm telling you, they were able to fix their problems and get it all going, and now they're considered one of the leaders in the industry, right? Of all the industries, in comparatives to Cisco, right? That's like huge. So you have to understand, when you can find your power in your river, the place of momentum, the moment that is flowing, then you can use that power, use that energy, pull it together and say, here, I'm going to use this. If most people can realize when that season of favor hits, when you know you're in your season of favor, you take advantage of opportunities that you wouldn't take advantage of when you don't think you're in your season of favor.